Hi, Flask here, back with another slew of Steam Next Fest demos. I tried a bunch this October of 2025. Here are some interesting ones for your consideration. The Séance of Blake Manor is a mystery adventure game in which you play as a detective in 1897 Ireland, investigating the possible disappearance of a woman at the manor in advance of a séance to be held there on Halloween. To that end, you must poke around the place, gather clues, solve puzzles, and investigate the large and varied cast of characters. All this contributes towards a big web of evidence and facts that helps you make theories as to what's going on. The caveat to your investigations is that for most of the actions you take, even something as simple as looking at an object, it'll consume minutes of time, and time is a factor. Certain events happen at certain times of day, and you can run out of time, or be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like for instance, early on I got a bit too nosy, got caught where I wasn't supposed to be, and was expelled from the manor. The punishment wasn't severe, you can save any time, and the autosaves seem generous. But I really like that there are even fail states like that. My wish is that not only do we have missable events here, but that there's a gradient to your success in this mystery, depending on what you choose. In support of that possibility, the failure screen declares how many guests survived due to your actions, and how much time you had left until the séance. The idea that you're actually risking something based on what you choose to investigate in a detective game, very cool. And the almost Mike Mignola-esque art style is also a very nice selling point. OPUS, Prism Peak, is a 3D narrative adventure, one that I've been looking forward to a bit because it seems like the kind of game I'd enjoy. It is, I think, the fourth in the OPUS series, but the first 3D entry. You play as a 40-year-old photographer who's at a place in his life where he feels he's encountered nothing but disappointment and disappearance, when he's transported to an alternate world populated by talking animals, and a little girl who can't remember her name. The goal becomes to get the girl to the mountain peak, taking photos along the way to magically progress. And all the while, it seems that everything in this world ties back into memories from his own life. I like photography gameplay. The magical realism seems well appointed and delicate enough to be intriguing, and the drama could be some genuine stuff. Hopefully the atmosphere is altogether as good as promised. Ground Zero is a third-person, fixed-camera survival horror game. Say it with me, inspired by Resident Evil. In the demo, you play as a South Korean operative investigating Busan in the aftermath of a devastating meteor impact. It's unclear if her Canadian partner will be playable, or will be a support NPC. But anyway, strange organic growth has been taking over the area since the impact, and infecting dead bodies, mutating them into aggressive monsters. As I said, it's third person with fixed camera angles, modern turning for your character, not tank controls, and you have a laser sight to help you aim. The character models are a treat, the environment and atmosphere are very cool. In the demo, you get a choice of two paths, and I chose to fight my way through an amusement park, because that sounded fun. And yeah, it's what you're after if you're after an RE-esque game. It's doing it pretty damn well. There are 3 complaints I have. 1, there's a near constant lens flare from your flashlight that I find super distracting and unnecessary. 2, something about the black levels of the environmental visuals kind of gives me a headache. I think it's that they're underexposed in an unnatural way to make everything appear darker, but it makes things hard to discern and strains my eyes. 3, the laser sight is good to have for the fixed camera, but the aiming still doesn't feel very good or precise. So if the devs can tune a few things, I'd be quite pleased to play this. It's an ambitious entry in the genre. Cyber Rats is a third-person, or third rat, experiment simulator. where you select a rat and are dropped into a generated maze where you must explore rooms and avoid traps to collect all the cheese. Also around the map are upgrade points, which can be used to improve your rat stats. The levels in a certain run increase in difficulty as you go, unleashing more dangerous obstacles like cyborg rats that hunt you down. Your rats can die, and pretty easily, so you have to use DNA points you collect to either buy new rats or revive your dead ones. It's not an easy game, especially with your limited vision in the darkness of many areas. It's very easy to step on a trap when you're just exploring or being chased by a cyborg. It remains to be seen how expansive the game gets. There are multiple biomes, a number of rats to unlock. Hopefully the procedural generation has enough permutations to work with that it doesn't get stale. I like the setup of deadly cybernetic rat maze. Bubsy 4D is a 3D +1 platformer, the 7th entry in the franchise. Yes, there were 2 Bubsies in the 2010s. I've never played a Bubsy myself, but 4D caught my attention for being developed by the team behind Demon Turf and the upcoming Demon Tides. So they know their way around a platform or two, and this Bubsy demo shows that not only do they bring that to bear, but they also bring their trademark silly, punkish attitude to the writing. So yeah, if you like some of the movement mechanics in Demon Turf, this is worth checking out. It looks like you'll be unlocking more move combos throughout the game, too. And cartoony goofiness is the name of the game when it comes to the style of the world and the characters. Actually, the name of the game is Bubsy 4D. Dead Format is a first-person survival horror game. It's set in 1990s Scotland, and you return home to a birthday gift from your brother, who has gone missing. He left you a movie on tape, not VHS, but GHL, Video Ghastlies, which a group known as Lighthouse Protection Services wants to have people executed for even possessing, because the tapes are too violent, you see. The gameplay loop revolves around you inserting these ghoul tapes into your brother's strange player. You get a fun little FMV clip of a low-budget horror film in a particular style, and then you exit the apartment, seemingly into the very world of the tape you just watched. So, for instance, the first tape is a black and white gothic horror, and you step out into a showstopper first level that's one of the best video game adaptations of a black and white horror movie I've ever seen. It's super impressive for this solo developer. Then you can return to your apartment to save the game and swap tapes. In the second level, you do get an Existenz-style tooth gun at the end, so it looks like we'll be biting some monsters from afar. This game seems like it'll be a labor of fondness for the format and nostalgia for old horror movies, which is really appealing to me. It'll be cool to see what kinds of movies inspired each level. HABROMANIA is an Alice in Wonderland point-and-click adventure game, closer to the original tone than to the emo-gothic American McGee's Alice, but still definitely tinged with a sense of the macabre, and judging by some of the dialogue hints and game trailer shots, some hints on the store page, grim allegory. A girl named Alice falls down a hole into a strange, fantastic underground that looks to be half ruin, half junkyard. She can't remember her past, and she meets odd denizens while solving adventure game puzzles, and the puzzles seem good so far. I do quite like the tone and presentation this game has with its story, dialogue, and world building, but the at-a-glance selling point is clearly the art. It's a gorgeous 2D hand-drawn style, well animated in the foreground, and well detailed in the background. It's always such a boon to be able to marry thoughtful writing and gameplay design with bespoke artwork in a pleasing style. The developers plan to release the game chapter by chapter through early access, should their Kickstarter be successful, and it is already, which is not unheard of for adventure games. Honestly, it's one of the only genres I don't mind that chapter by chapter format so much. They say there will be 12 chapters total, and multiple endings, so I hope they're able to reach those goals. By the way, the word HABROMANIA is apparently an archaic medical term for a form of cheerful delusional insanity. Junji Ito Maniac, An Infinite Jail, which is a title I love by the way, is a first-person horror puzzle game. It's inspired by the works of horror manga author Junji Ito, specifically the Japanese Tales of the Macabre anime. We may even have a Tomi in play, folks. She's one of the most enduring characters from his oeuvre. The demo also has an Ito-style cat, which, as we know, are eldritch beings. You play as a college student who wakes up in a Western-style mansion, having lost his memory. You find some evidence that you were here with someone investigating paranormal activity, and as you explore, you come across more clues as to your presence here and the nature of this place. Also, as you explore, headless statues try to take your head off, and it seems we'll be encountering other strange things. The experience was a little jank, it's not the prettiest, but this game has promise. It's a very decent horror puzzler, nothing challenging in the demo, but hopefully it'll ramp up. And it's the kind of monster-chased horror I like, where you can run and hide, but that's not your only recourse. You can actually stop the monsters in a number of ways. You can pick up bear traps to set, or use environmental traps. These options are limited, so I imagine you'll have to use them wisely as you go. Us fans have had mostly bad luck with Junji Ito adaptations, so it'd be nice if this was one of the few to escape that curse. In this world, you're either an Uzumaki 2000, or you're an Uzumaki 2024. My wife threw out my card collection, so I bought a dump to find them all. I don't normally like long game titles, but I could see this title being a big hit with people and going viral, so sure. It's a game where you own a dump, and you're sorting through the piles of trash to find valuables to sell in your warehouse, to get money, to purchase upgrades for yourself, to dig up more trash and valuables, to buy more upgrades, or more piles of trash to sort through. You also get smaller amounts of money from selling the trash itself that you have to dig through to get to the valuables. They're all physics objects. And you have an energy bar that you refill by drinking beer that you buy, but the trash selling and beer buying more or less support each other. You also have a dog you can pay to send out to find valuables. You also have a cart that I was not able to figure out the purpose of, but then again I only tried for like 30 seconds. Maybe it's more necessary the bigger your operation becomes. I assume at some point you find your rare cards that your wife threw out, but I played for over half an hour and didn't find any. Still, it's one of those turn your brain off loops that I can't deny is addicting. It's definitely a second monitor game, or like a podcast game, you know? The Last Case of John Morley is a first-person mystery puzzle game with possibly horror elements. It's not certain from the demo, but I wouldn't be surprised if something supernatural proves to be involved. You play as the titular detective in the 1940s, just out of recovery from a particularly challenging case, as he's hired by an aged countess to try and solve the 20-year cold case of her daughter's death. Your first step is to investigate the locked-up family manor. I never know what to expect out of these types of games when they're indie efforts, like where they'll fall towards either successfully or unsuccessfully presented and atmospheric. But this one is showing a lot of promise on those fronts, and in its production values. It only covers the initial setup and foray into the manor, but it handles itself well. It looks and sounds good. It even has bare-bones mouth movement on the characters. There are dialogue choices, though it may just be that you exhaust the topics rather than choose between options. During gameplay, you solve puzzles, but also you investigate objects to have Morley imagine what the relevant circumstances were, sort of seeing the echoes of past events as Morley imagines they happened. I also just like the premise of trying to solve such a very cold case, so if it can make that feel right, I'll be happy. Origament, a paper adventure. Origament is a 3D platformer of sorts where you control an origami paper that can transform into 4 different forms, a ball, an airplane, a boat, and a shuriken. You use those forms in combination with one another to traverse the environment and progress through the levels, occasionally aided by a helpful cat. The story, as it is, seems to have something to do with this being a special magical letter, using a time glitch to get to its recipient. That would help explain why you go to the Wild West in the second level of the demo. Yeah, I wasn't sure what to make of this game, but it's surprisingly fun. The gameplay works quite well, using the paper forms one after another and requiring some relatively quick reactions. The first level was pretty chill, whereas the second was more of an exciting romp. If it can keep the levels feeling interesting by, I guess, visiting different time periods, I could see this being a surprisingly memorable experience for a game where you control a piece of paper. It's really not bad in its construction. Riddlewood Manor is a point-and-click adventure game where you are apparently a priest or something sent into the haunted manor, where you must survive demons in a series of puzzling rooms throughout the house. Along the way, a possessed doll gives you history on the Riddlewood family, and other beings lurk around. The game has a fantastic 3D rendered, dark cartoon art style that really sets a mood, along with its polished animation. And it's a game with traditional jump scares, which the game offers to warn you about, but where's the fun in that? This is a game that could make it on its style alone, but it actually has pretty good puzzles so far. Not too challenging, but more so enjoyable to solve. From the sound of it, there may even be secrets hidden throughout the manor that you can find by trying stuff and risking death, which isn't too punishing as far as I saw. I'll definitely be checking this one out myself.
Once you enter my house, you cannot leave.
The House of Hamelin is a dungeon crawler card battler. You play as a woman who chases her cat into an absurd, decrepit, cat-obsessed, monster-infested house, and she's coached by some kind of witchy woman on how to use cards to fight the monsters, and also a method to consume the monsters. As I said, the environment has an enjoyably absurd aesthetic. At least early on, it's fairly linear, with an occasional choice of path. Sometimes you'll also get the chance to enter kitchens or bathrooms that let you change or upgrade your deck in mostly randomized ways. Either I wasn't very good at the card battling, or it's pretty challenging, probably the former. Maybe someone with more experience in the genre could tell if it seemed like a system with good synergies and potential, but to me it seemed pretty good, or at least I felt willing to try it again sometime and see if I couldn't actually prevail. The setting and tone were the main draws for me on the surface, though. There were a lot of enticing demos this season. I couldn't play all the ones I wanted to try. But I hope you saw something in this here list cool or creepy enough to wishlist. And I'll see you next fest.